Hello there, everyone. Welcome to the review for Unreal 2: The Awakening. Yep, now that I completed the game, we're just going to go ahead and talk about what I thought about it. You should know that in the comment section down below that this will all be typed up along with how many points a game can get on the various categories. I tend to rate these games between a -7, which would be the absolute worst game imaginable. Might want to consider seriously destroying your computer rather than just playing that game, or a 20, which is the absolute perfect game that you would never stop playing. No game I have ever played has ever been either of those values, thankfully, or not thankfully, depending upon your view of it. Also, before going any further, what you're seeing in the background is the overhaul mod, something that I downloaded for Unreal 2 after completing the game. We won't be playing through the game using it, at least not in 2021. Maybe we'll do this a year or 4 from now. But the overhaul mod did change things in ways I very much liked. So if you're curious about Unreal 2 and you liked my playlist, or you find some issues with the game the same way that I did, the overhaul mod seems to address these very nicely. So I would recommend you pick that up and install it in addition to this game. Alright, so with all this said, let's go ahead and begin talking about Unreal 2, shall we? The first thing I like talking about when it comes to reviewing the video game I had just played is the video aspect of it. And I think, on a scale of 0 through 3, I can give Unreal 2 a 2. I was pleasantly surprised with how good the game still looks to me, considering this was made in the early 2000s. I think this game came out in 2004, so it's been 16 years. The game did feel choppy when playing it in certain sections. The movement wasn't so smooth. It felt like a bit jarring to quickly turn John Dalton's face around when trying to swing my weapons around to fight enemies very quickly. And the movement wasn't as smooth as I had hoped it would have been. But the water looks great, the planets felt fantastic, and I think it holds up rather well. Special nod to Ida's outfit. Still looks good on her too. So 2 points here for graphics.
Drop by, Marshal.
For the sound, the voice acting in the game is rather well done. The sound of rockets and the clink of the grenade launcher changing what's in its chamber. The crew's voice acting was all very well done. And I like the sound of the Marines, their feedback to you. Our main protagonist, his voice was perfect. I had no problems whatsoever with the voice acting in the game. And the sound effects were decent as well. Some of the weapons, I probably could have used a little more oomph. The flamethrower and the car's primary fire in particular. But I think it was overall a fantastic smack-up job. So I'm going to give, on a scale of 0 through 2, the sound a 2 as well. I can't really think of anything that was really out of place or anything, again, aside from 1 or 2 weapons that lack the oomph that we would expect to hear. Doors sound great when they shut and open. Yep, it's great. It's standard Unreal stuff. For the music, well, from the thematic music on Hell to our first away mission on Sanctuary, which we're going to kind of see most of here, right, and as the beats as well on Sulfuron. Oh my goodness, that track in particular was amazing. I really liked the combat tune on Sulfuron. I went and stripped that song from the game. I absolutely adore that song. Now, I am biased towards whoever the main Unreal composer is, because I've listened to the Unreal Tournament tracks, like Mechanism 8, Organic, and Razorback. I still listen to those to this day. I tend to transfer those MP3s from computer to computer as one of the first things I do when I build a new one, and then I'll play those along with Armies of Darkness when I fire up that computer the first time. I'm going on a tangent. Needless to say, I very much like the music in Unreal 2. Nothing felt out of place, although it wasn't as adrenaline pumping as the tunes in Unreal Tournament, and maybe even 1 or 2 in the actual Unreal game itself. I still thought they were very, very good. And so I'm going to give the music a score of 2 as well, on a rating of 0 through 2. And I think Ada's going to talk for a tiny bit, so I'm not going to talk over her. So let's wait and listen to the awesome music while we're in orbit.
Remember now, search and rescue.
rough stuff.
Yes, Mother.
Look, I'm not kidding. I don't want to have to come down there and save your sorry ass.
Relax, I'm sure the natives are friendly.
For the story, which we heard a little bit of here, while I really enjoyed listening to the lines of our crew and rediscovering their backgrounds was a lot of fun, I felt that the overarching story was just so-so. It boils down to get the MacGuffin, right? And I was scratching my head as to why we just didn't leave them in the corpse hands for the vast majority of them. Hey! I'm doing a review here. Can you please stop screaming? I love the sounds they give to the Azarians. That was very good. Yeah, so it's basically just a get the MacGuffin. And I don't know why we didn't leave them in the corpse hands. For that matter, I'm also confused as to why the Marines were obeying the TCA's orders. I'm not sure I enjoyed how the game ended either. There's quite a few plot holes I could begin talking about, but I'd end up being here for like an hour talking about the story for Unreal 2 and the aspects of it I liked versus mostly, well, disliked. So, overall, I'm glad there was a cohesive story here, but it just wasn't a good one, I think. And so, although the crew member motivations were great, the rest of the game I think was overall lacking. So, I'm going to give the story a 1 on a 0 through 3. Especially when I stop to consider some of the other games'
Help me!
stories I've given a 2 this year. For the gameplay is good. It reminds me of the original Unreal with one big caveat: your movement speed. The game's default running speed in this game feels like the old Unreal's walk speed. It's really that bad. This unfortunately colors the entirety of combat because you can't effectively dodge attacks or run behind blocking terrain to get out of enemies' line of fire. It's paramount to kill enemies quickly and from extreme range if you can, because otherwise you're taking a ton of fire that your suit and your shields can't withstand. I played the game on normal. Oof, I can only imagine how difficult it is on hard. That said though, the combat still feels like Unreal for the most part. Choosing the right weapon for the correct enemy and the situation you find yourself in, fighting in a big open field versus a tight corridor, can really make a big difference. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by my own gameplay here. So overall, I thought it was good. A standard FPS fare. On a score of 0 through 3, I can give the gameplay a 2. Felt good. Good Unreal combat. Just wish it was a little faster paced when it comes to our movement.
Get this work. I'm broadcasting. Sir, up here. The camera. I'm watching you on the security network.
Is the system two-way? Can you hear me?
Don't bother talking back. The system's only one way. I won't hear you.
Glad we cleared that up.
Boy, am I glad to see you. TCA, wow. I wasn't sure anyone got my distress.
Sorry, I don't know how loud my voice is compared to his, so I'm not going to talk over the in-game talking.
There's no way I'm getting out on my own. Everyone I see on the security cameras is dead. I'm barricaded in a security office over in the generator building. You'll have to go through the collection plant to get here, though. The main route is blocked. Hold on, I'll open the hatches to the runoff basin. It's a short swim. There's a camera on the other side, so I'll see you when you come up.
Jesus, John. Were we ever that green?
You'll note that in the overhaul mod, John Dalton holds his weapon a little more out further from him, which I very much like. It doesn't block a good deal of your view on the right-hand side. You also gain a sprint action instead of a walk action in the overhaul mod, and your base movement is improved. That alone greatly would have changed some of the score I would have given this game. But I'm not reviewing the overhaul mod in Unreal 2, I'm just reviewing the base game of it. So for the GUI and controls, I really dislike the hit the button multiple times to draw a different weapon.
How's your suit pressure?
Fine. You ever heard the expression, blood is thicker than water? Well, it's true.
I wish I could hotkey each individual weapon to a particular hotkey instead. I also swear that there is a very... how to describe this? Very slight movement on the mouse does not register in the game unless it has moved a set number of pixels, or would have moved the target reticule a certain number of pixels, at which point the cursor jumps to a very tiny preset distance. It's very hard to describe this. I'll just say that you won't be able to aim with the amount of precision you won't be able to aim with the precision you really want in this game. Now, the overhaul mods seem to have fixed that as well from my little time playing it, as we see here. I had a much easier time mousing over enemies to shoot them with the car, for example, or getting the grenade to be where I wanted it to be. So, these two things alone, they're pretty big, and as such, unfortunately, it ruins quite a bit of the gameplay in that regard as well, because I find myself getting frustrated by how inaccurate many of my attacks were in the game. And so, on a 0 through 2, I'm going to give the game a 0 for the controls. I found it that frustrating to fight using some of my weapons, and also, again, to accidentally pick up the wrong weapon, or miss it, and then have to hit the cycle button several times to get the proper weapon deployed. So yeah, unfortunately Unreal 2 doesn't have the best weapon selection, or even aiming in it. That sucks.
These creatures showed up right after we pulled this alien thing up from the mine. It's really old, like a relic or something. Broke a drill bit on it, too. I've got it here with me.
The game is not grindy and has no bugs or frustration due to bugs in it. Works flawlessly on that regard. I did have a crash or two, but it was related to me using fraps, not the game itself. So the game's not going to suffer in that regard. For the game's balance between a 0, 1, or 2, I can say that there are definitely reasons to use one weapon over another, as some enemies are better targets for some, like the flamethrower for the bugs on Hell, or the Shock Lance's EMP burst for robots later on in the game. On that note, certain circumstances encourage others, like a sniper rifle for sniping for long distances, or using a shotgun when you're in an enclosed area. It makes sense as well as to why sometimes you're not going to find ammunition for the weapons that you really like. You won't find flame fuel on certain missions because there's no flamer in those missions. And later on, like as we acquired like alien weaponry, the ammo for it would not be something we could find very regularly as well. I kind of like this. It's funny because I remember complaining in StarCraft 2 that the game made you use certain units at certain times, but I really enjoyed this one, and they're not so much forcing, but encouraging you to use different weapons depending upon the situation. So, beyond that as well, when it comes to balance, I thought the levels were very good. They felt very different enough in biomes and the areas of the worlds we had been adventuring in, and I think they did a good job constructing them. I really liked as well how difficult some of these missions were. Defending the Atlantis from the Lotaeri battle angels, or death angels. That was fantastic. I dreaded that mission when we were doing it here. And I think I died something like... I didn't record all my deaths, but I think overall I died like 48, 50 times in that mission. But I loved it all the same. It didn't feel cheesy. It felt like I just needed to be a little better. And again, if I had faster movement, would have been better there too. In any case, for the game's balance between weaponry and levels and enemies you're fighting, I think they did a fantastic job. I'm going to give it 2 points, the most I can give it for balance. For my thumb on the scale, this is how much I enjoyed playing it and how much replayability I think the game has, basically. It was great to play the game again. I loved how difficult some of the missions were, but I don't think this is one that I'll be playing over and over again. Not like, say, Dishonored, that I fire up on occasion, or the Thief series, that I'll play some fan missions on occasion. I'm showing off the overhaul mod here, and I think if I was to play the game again with this, that would really assist me in deciding to play this game again. And by that I mean I would probably play this game a little more regularly off screen as well. Like something like what's another game I play on occasion? Prey. I really like the replayability of Prey. And System Shock 2. I played System Shock 2 a hell of a lot. Because of how different it all feels. In this game, you're not really going to be too different when you play the game. I mean, it's not like you have a character build, you don't be leveling up or something of the sort. But the combat itself, an overhaul mod, felt a lot smoother than it ever did without it. So that would at least encourage me to fire this game up again and, well, just play through it, just for the fun of the combat. So on a scale of 0 through 2, the base game, I'm going to say, gets a 1. I liked it, probably wouldn't play through it again for some time, though. But with the overhaul mod, I would have upped this score. And finally, we have the awesome ending point. So, the killing off of your crew may have been in keeping with the, generally speaking, terrible endings the Unreal series seems to have, in so much that they're bad endings for the player, and I don't tend to like the endings either for that much, like the Return to Napali ending.
Thought I'd lost you. Next up is the drainage room. It's chock full of those creatures, but there's no other way. Good luck.
I didn't like how that ended. It felt really cheesy. So I was like, this is a really stupid ending, guys. I think you guys could have done a much better job than that. So for this one, I think it follows that same vein. It struck me, though, as coming out of nowhere, because I really felt they wanted an emotional ending for John Dalton and you, the player, who maybe has built up some attachment to the crew. And yeah, I kind of did. I really liked, again, their voice acting. The characters felt real to me in an Unreal game. But I find the whole rebelling commander from the TCA, that really came out of left field, I feel. And why did the Marines work for him? Wouldn't they have reported what was going on to their superiors? Wouldn't they have, the military have been curious as to why several detachments were attacking different corporations and taking artifacts? Would the corporations have reached out to the military and been like, hey, why is the military attacking us? So, that alone is enough to make me raise some eyebrows as to why they decided to end it the way they did. I feel they left too many holes wide open, and it was, I don't know, it came out of left field, I think. So, I don't mind unhappy endings, but I really think this one was kind of out of place, and I didn't think the delivery of it was well done. So, unfortunately,
Right, the security door. Hold on, I'll open it up.
I'm not going to give the game that +1 point here either.
I'm real worried about this next stretch. None of the cameras work, so I can't see if anything's in there. Be careful, okay?
So overall, between a -7 and a 20, I give Unreal 2 a 12. It's a solid FPS, with some annoyances that prevent it from being great. Molasses movement and agonizing aiming are the two most prevalent. Wow! There is a large selection of weapons available to slaughter your foes with, although you may find ammo short on your favorites. The story is a bit cliche and lacks some sense at the end, but the characters are voiced very well, and their stories are memorable. I can't pronounce that word either. Overall, it's a good FPS, doesn't outstay its welcome, has a variety of areas the adventure takes place in, and if you can install the overhaul mod to improve some aspects of the game's movement and controls, it will definitely be more enjoyable, and I feel have scored higher on my ranking as well. Alright, everyone, so we'll watch me fight the Scar. I don't think it goes so well for me. And then we'll cut the recording. So thank you guys for watching this. I hope you liked the Unreal 2 playthrough. I know I had a lot of fun playing through it. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.
Hey, Ida. Does your guidebook list this as a vacation spot for Scar?
He's probably checking up on his Azarian grunts. I don't like this, John.